A man stands in the dirt of the Midianite wilderness. The air is thick with the sweltering heat of the afternoon sun. It is stitched into our hymns. It is printed on the covers of our Bibles. It is the most common adjective used to describe God. The grudges you carry. You remember the white knuckles on the steering wheel during your morning commute. Holding on to a quiet bitterness, you refuse to let go. You look at the habits you cannot seem to break. The lingering guilt in the pit of your stomach. The sheer exhaustion of trying to be good enough. You look at your own life and you see a staggering lack of perfection. And because you have been taught that holy means perfect, you assume you are kal. You assume you are just another piece of scrap metal in the system. You feel entirely disqualified from the realm of the divine. But the ring does not make itself holy. The shovel does not forge its own destiny. The status of the object is never determined by the object itself. It is determined by the one who takes ownership of it. God does not look at your life and demand a flawless performance before he pulls you out of the crowd. He claims you in the midst of your brokenness, places his name on you, and severs you from the ordinary machinery of the world. Your holiness is not a trophy you earn. It is a space you are placed inside. This realization should bring a profound sense of relief. The pressure to manufacture your own purity is finally gone. But relief is not what the ancient prophets felt when they encountered this reality face to face. Because when the sheer weight of God's absolute otherness in the entire scriptural text, most people assume they know exactly what it means. If you ask the average person sitting in a pew, physically invades human space. The human nervous system simply cannot process it. The reaction is not a quiet prayer. To see what it actually looks like, you have to step into a stone temple. On the year a king dies, the year is 740 BC. Uzziah the king is dead. The throne is empty. The nation holds its breath. Isaiah walks into the temple in Jerusalem. The stone floor is solid under his sandals. The air is quiet. The shadows of the pillars are long. Then the veil of reality tears open. The throne room of the cosmos crashes into the physical space. The hem of a massive robe fills the entire sanctuary. 6-winged creatures dive and hover above the altar. They cover their eyes to shield themselves from the brilliance. They hide their feet. They open their mouths. The sound violently shakes the heavy wooden doors on their hinges. The thresholds tremble. The seraphim do not sing about love. They do not sing about grace. They chant a single word in a 3-beat rhythm. Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. Separated, separated, separated. Smoke fills the room. It burns the eyes. It chokes the lungs. Isaiah drops to the ground. He does not close his eyes in peaceful reverence. He screams in absolute terror. Woe is me, for I am undone. The Hebrew word he uses is dama. It means to be cut off, to cease, to disintegrate entirely. What holy means? They will give you a variation of the same answer. Moral perfection. We think of a glowing aura of pure goodness. Isaiah looks at the blazing, nuclear core of God's absolute otherness. He looks at his own frail humanity. He knows the ancient rule of the tabernacle. He is a man of unclean lips. He is kol. He is common dirt. And when the common touches the purely holy without a mediator, the common is incinerated. Isaiah is not experiencing a sudden wave of religious guilt. He is experiencing a collision of realms. He expects to die. He expects to burn up like dry brush caught in a lightning strike. But then a seraph dives toward the bronze altar. The creature takes a pair of metal tongs. It pulls a glowing, red-hot coal from the fire. The creature flies toward the terrified prophet. The burning coal presses directly against his mouth. You can almost hear the hiss of searing flesh. You can smell the smoke of the altar. But the fire does not destroy him. The fire purifies him. The coal transfers its severed status to his lips. It makes him capable of surviving the space. The ancient law is clear. You must protect the holy from the common. If the common touches the holy must either destroy it or cleanse it through fire and blood. You do not bring defilement near the sacred. That was the unyielding rule for centuries. The boundary lines were drawn. The physical separation was absolute. We picture a flawless record, a life completely free of sin. We imagine an untouchable standard of moral purity that we are constantly failing to reach. But that echo does not stop there, because centuries later, a rabbi walks down a dusty dirt road in Galilee. A man covered in a highly contagious, flesh-eating disease falls face down at his feet. And the rabbi does the one thing you are never supposed to do. The leper kneels in the dust of the road. His skin is mottled with active decay, his garments intentionally torn to warn others of his infection. He whispers his desperate request into the hot air, fully expecting the rabbi to step back, to recoil in disgust, to protect his own purity. Instead, Jesus reaches forward and presses his fingers directly against the rotting flesh. To a first-century Hebrew mind watching this interaction, the theological alarms are deafening. For generations, the Levitical laws operated on a strict, unyielding system of contagion. Defilement spreads on physical contact. If you touch a grave, the impurity of death transfers to you. If you touch a diseased man, you do not pull the man into the realm of the clean, the disease pulls you into the realm of the unclean. The common always contaminates the sacred. This is why the ancient architecture of worship was fundamentally a structure of containment. The tabernacle required heavy woven tapestries, bronze fences, and strictly monitored thresholds. The priests operated under a constant, low-level anxiety. And it makes sense that we read it that way. We have spent centuries filtering the Bible through Western lenses, where holiness became a synonym, meticulously washing their hands in cold basin water, terrified that a single unwashed garment would invite destruction. Holiness was beautiful, but it was isolated. It had to be defended from the creeping infection of the ordinary world. But the incarnation inverses the physics of the universe. When the physical contact happens, when the clean skin of the rabbi presses against the decaying shoulder of the outcast, the flow of contagion reverses entirely. The impurity of the disease does not travel up his arm to defile the Son of God. Instead, the absolute, severed life of the Creator flows out of his fingers and completely overwrites the corruption. The disease is annihilated by the proximity of pure existence. His holiness is not a fragile condition that requires a quarantine. It is a contagious invasion. He is doing exactly what the glowing coal did to Isaiah's lips in the temple sanctuary. But now the coal is walking around the Galilean countryside on 2 feet. He is touching the dead, the bleeding, the isolated, and the broken. The holy is infecting the common. The kadosh is actively swallowing up the coal. The terrifying, lethal energy of Mount Sinai has finally come down to the people, wrapped in human skin, carrying a remedy instead of a sword. And this changes the entire trajectory of the biblical narrative, for being perfectly good, perfectly clean, and perfectly behaved. But if you look closer at the Hebrew language behind the English, at how the ancient authors, because if holiness is no longer hiding behind a heavy temple curtain, waiting for you to scrub yourself perfectly clean before you are allowed to approach, everything you have been taught about earning your way to God begins to collapse. The question is no longer whether your behavior is perfect enough to survive the sanctuary. The question is what you will do when the sanctuary comes looking for you. A bush burned in the desert, and the ordinary sand became a sanctuary. A mountain shook under black smoke, and a boundary line was drawn in the rock. A bronze shovel scooped cold ash, and it was severed from the common world. A gold ring slides onto a hand, and it belongs to a single devotion. A prophet screamed on a stone floor, and a burning coal allowed him to survive. A sick man kneeled in the dust, and the rabbi's touch reversed his decay. The absolute life of the Creator stepped out of the veil, and the contagion of grace began. Same word, same God. But maybe the part that stays with me most is the shovel. Not a glowing angel, not a flawless priest. A simple, heavy bronze tool meant for the ashes. An object with no ability to earn its place. No moral record to defend. Pulled out of the dirt simply because the Creator wanted it in his house. If you are in a season where you feel entirely chal, actually use this concept. you start to see something the moral perfection reading completely misses. Holiness is not a measure of behavior, where you look at your life and see nothing but the ordinary. The broken and the common stop trying to polish the bronze. You do not have to clean yourself up to be claimed. Holiness is not a demand for your perfection. It is a declaration of your belonging. And may the God who has always reached into the dirt to find what is his, step into your ordinary spaces, place his name upon you, and carry you out of the ash. If this reached something in you today, subscribe, leave a comment, even one word helps. Share this with someone who is exhausted by trying to be perfect. Pray for us as we keep digging into these texts. It is a category of separation. It is not about being flawless. It is about being set apart. To call something holy in the ancient Near East was not to say it had never made a mistake. It was to say it belonged to a completely different realm of existence. It was cut out from the normal world and dedicated to a single, exclusive purpose. The kind of heat that cracks the mud and burns the soles of the feet through leather sandals. He is staring at a bush. The implications of this shift are staggering. Because if holiness is just moral perfection, then the only thing you can do when you encounter it is hide your flaws. But if holiness is about being set apart, it changes how you understand every commandment, every ritual, and every demand God places on his people. To understand how the original authors viewed this, you cannot start with a theology textbook. You have to start in the dirt of the Sinai Peninsula. You have to look at the bronze and gold tools of a nomadic tent. Because in the book of Exodus, God does not just declare himself holy, he declares a shovel holy, and a shovel cannot be morally perfect. We are a culture that has domesticated the divine. When we hear the word holy, our minds often gravitate towards stained glass windows, quiet reverence, and hands neatly folded in prayer. We have taken a concept that terrified the ancient world and turned it into a polite adjective for good behavior. But the Israelites standing at the base of Mount Sinai in the book of Exodus did not think of holiness as polite. They thought of it as a lethal force. In Exodus chapter 19, a nation of former slaves gathers at the foot of a massive, jagged rock formation. The narrative describes a thick, black cloud descending heavily onto the peak, blocking out the sun. It notes the jagged flashes of lightning tearing through the smoke. Fire is wrapping around the branches, bright and violent. But the wood is not blackening. The leaves are not curling into ash. The deafening and continuous blast of a ram's horn growing louder and louder, and the physical shaking of the bedrock beneath their sandals. God tells Moses to draw a strict boundary line around the base of the mountain. He gives a severe warning that if anyone, human or animal, touches the stone of Sinai, they will die instantly. The mountain has become holy. Now, ask yourself the logical question. Did the dirt and rock of Mount Sinai suddenly achieve moral perfection? Did the boulders suddenly learn to obey the 10 Commandments? Of course not. The mountain did not change its moral character. The danger of the mountain was not about punishment. It was about proximity. In the ancient Hebrew mind, the holiness of God functions much like the raw, unfiltered energy of a nuclear reactor, or the blinding surface of the sun. It is pure, absolute life. It is the source of all existence. And human beings, mortal and fragile as we are, cannot simply stroll into the core of a reactor without a containment suit. If you touch the sun, you do not burn up because the sun hates you, or because the sun is angry with you. You burn up because of the sheer intensity of its nature. The mountain became a zone of intense separation. It was suddenly pulled out of the ordinary, common world, and charged with the absolute otherness of the Creator. It was cut off from normal use. There is no smell of burning cedar or dry brush in the air, just the impossible sight of a fire that consumes nothing. Every culture in the ancient Near East understood this spatial separation. They all had temples with restricted access. The Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Canaanites, they all knew that the space where a deity supposedly resided required massive physical boundaries, specific garments, and careful rituals just to survive the encounter. But Israel's God was introducing a level of separation that shattered the surrounding mythologies. The gods of Egypt were bound to the Nile River. The gods of Canaan were bound to the cycles of rain and the fertility of the soil. They were ultimately just larger, more powerful pieces of the universe. They were inside the system. Yahweh was declaring that He is outside the system entirely. He is the author, fundamentally separate from the book He wrote. But the detail that changes how we actually read the text is found in the specific word they use to describe this reality. Fire burns in the courtyard. Priests slaughter bulls. Blood splashes against the bronze altar. Fat smokes in the open air. Ash piles up beneath the grate. Someone has to carry the ash away. Artisans hammer bronze. They cast pots. They mold basins. They forge flesh hooks. They shape fire pans. And they make shovels. Ordinary bronze tools designed to scoop cold, gray ash and carry it outside the camp. Then, God gives an instruction. He commands Moses to anoint the entire space. Moses takes a specially mixed, fragrant oil. Then, a voice speaks from the center of the flame. The voice tells Moses to take off his sandals. He pours it on the tent. He smears it on the altar. He rubs it onto the utensils, including the bronze shovels. The English text says these tools are now consecrated. They are holy. The word in the Hebrew scroll is kadosh. Its root is ancient, and many scholars believe it originates from an older Semitic concept meaning to cut, to sever, to slice something away from the whole. It appears well over 600 times in the Old Testament. It describes the burning ground beneath Moses in Exodus 3. It describes the seventh day of the week in Genesis 2. It describes the high priest's garments. And it describes a bronze shovel for scooping ash. A shovel does not have a conscience. A shovel cannot resist temptation. A shovel cannot obey a commandment. That root changes everything. Holiness is not a moral achievement. It is a designated status. When Moses rubs oil onto the handle of that shovel, he is declaring it kadosh, severed, cut completely out of normal circulation. You cannot take this shovel and dig a latrine. You cannot use it to plant wheat. You cannot lend it to a neighbor to clear a ditch. It belongs to one realm, and one realm only. It is exclusively dedicated to the presence of Yahweh, because the ground beneath his feet, the ordinary, dusty rock of the desert floor, is holy. Centuries later, the pattern repeats. This is why the moral perfection reading collapses when you read the Old Testament. If holiness means behavioral perfection, an inanimate shovel makes absolutely no sense. But if holiness means separated, dedicated, pulled completely out of the ordinary, then the shovel is as holy as an angel. It has been pulled out of the common world. But to truly grasp the weight of Kadosh, you have to look at what it pushes against. You have to look at its opposite. If holy means separated, what exactly is it separated from? Most people think the opposite of holy is evil. But in the ancient Hebrew mind, that is entirely wrong. We build our theology on a binary: good and bad, right and wrong, light and dark, holy and evil. But when the ancient priests read the scrolls, they did not sort the material universe into righteous and wicked. They sorted it into Kadosh and Chal. In Leviticus chapter 10, verse 10, God gives a defining instruction to Aaron. He tells the high priest that he must maintain a permanent boundary. He must distinguish between two realms of existence, the holy and the common. The Hebrew word for common is kal. It means ordinary. It means every day. A high priest washes the blood from his hands in a bronze basin, terrified of stepping into the inner room of the tabernacle because the space is holy. It means accessible to anyone, for any purpose. To be kal is to be part of the regular, turning machinery of human life. It is the dirt you walk on when you travel between cities. It is the water you draw from a well to wash your face. It is the timber you chop to keep a fire burning through a cold winter night. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. It is necessary. It is good. It is the basic material of human survival. But it is not severed. A stone lying in an open field is coal. You can build a retaining wall with it. You can sit on it to rest your legs. You can use it to grind grain. A stone cut for the bronze altar is kadosh. You cannot sit on it. You cannot move it. It belongs entirely and exclusively to Yahweh. The flour, sitting in a clay jar in your kitchen, is kol. You mix it with oil and bake bread to feed your hungry children. The flour baked for the showbread in the sanctuary is kadosh. It sits in the presence of the fire, eaten only by the priests. The opposite of holy is not wicked. It is ordinary. If seeing this ancient Hebrew context strip away centuries of religious baggage is shifting something inside you, you're exactly who this channel is for. A prophet named Isaiah falls face down on the cold stone floor of the temple, feeling the doorposts shake at the sound of angelic voices. Drop a thought in the comments and hit subscribe. Because every week we go deeper into the text than you knew was possible. So the text draws its unyielding lines. It divides space. It divides time. It divides objects. It declares that certain spaces, certain days, and certain tools are no longer available for public consumption. They are locked into a singular purpose. This is not a claim of arrogance. This is not a declaration of flawless behavior. When God calls Israel a holy nation, they are not being told they are morally superior to the Egyptians. They are not being told they will never stumble, never rebel, or never fail. They are being told they are taken. They are severed from the nations. They are pulled out of the common cycle of empire building, border wars, and accumulating wealth. They belong entirely to another reality. They are not a perfect people. They are a designated people. And while an ancient agrarian society understood this physical separation perfectly, modern minds often struggle to grasp it. Until you look at a simple, circular piece of metal sliding onto a finger. You hold a gold band in the palm of your hand. It is smooth, cold metal, catching the harsh fluorescent light of a jewelry store display case. He cries out that he is ruined. He is disintegrating because he has seen the holy God. We hear this word constantly. Holy. It was mined from the dirt, melted in an industrial furnace, and shaped by a loud machine. There are thousands just like it sitting in velvet boxes, in shop windows across the world. Right now, it is kal. It is common. You could melt it down to fix a computer motherboard. You could trade it for cash. You could leave it in a drawer to collect dust for 50 years. But then you stand in a room, in front of someone you love. You look them in the eye. You slide that metal onto their finger. And you speak a vow. You can almost feel the air in the room shift. Something invisible but absolute happens to that object. It is no longer just a circle of gold. If it falls off their finger in a parking lot, your heart stops. Your bare hands freeze as you dig frantically through the wet snow to find it. You would not do that for a folded $20 bill. You do it because that piece of metal belongs to a single, exclusive relationship. The ring is not suddenly flawless. It is entirely severed. This is what is actually happening when the scriptures call a human being holy. If you are sitting there right now trying to measure your own holiness, you are probably looking at your moral track record. You look at the days your patience snapped and your voice echoed harshly down the hallway. You feel the tightness in your jaw when you think about